We've got a question. Dr. Osentam George has got a question for you.
Yes.
Yes, Honorable Dabiri, I just wanted to emphasize these points about domesticating the FOI Act in the states. There are cases across the country where certain NGOs and even civil society organizations want certain kinds of information concerning the use of certain financial resources by the states. And when the matter gets to court, the only contention by State Council is that the FOI Act has not been domesticated in the states. Are you concerned about this? Does this serve the cause of transparency and governance across the board well, in your opinion? How would you respond to this concern?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. We believe that states who really want openness and transparency will just domesticate the FOI Act. But you see, if they don't, it's still a case for the court. If you don't pass the act in your state, I'm not sure we as a national we can do anything, actually. But like I said, Ekiti has gone ahead to have an FOI law. The way we passed it, Lagos, it has gone through second reading. So I think now it will take the whole state, various states accountable. Lagos will soon have an FOI law. Edo will soon have an FOI law. But the National Assembly really does not make law for states. But even at that, like there was a state where somebody wanted to know the health record of a governor. And we had to come out and let them, and this was a lawyer. This is a lawyer, a legal practitioner. FOI does not empower you to seek my medical record. If the law says before I become president, I shall declare my record, that is another law, but that is not freedom of information. So yes, but I won't say we're worried. It's a matter of time.
Okay.
But what I'm even saying is that when we start talking of domestication, when it's going to come anyway, it's a matter of time. The law as it is now, even at the federal level, look at the huge resources. The federal government gets the largest allocation in Nigeria today. Let us even start by testing it at that level. And for states who have Ekiti, surprisingly, Ekiti, as we said at the workshop yesterday, is a nation of petitioners. Now there's no petition to write again because everything is open. You want to know, seek information. It has made life easier for Ekiti state government. And I think we can take a cue from that. But we cannot force it down on any state. We don't make law for states. But you can demand from your state to domesticate the FOI law. That is part of asking and demanding.
All right, then. Thank you very much indeed, Honorable Abike Dabiri, coming back to us again on this FOI Act. Well, speaking of which in this one, now that, states, some of them, including Niger and Plateau, at the time, they did say, that was on the 5th of June last year, they did say at the time that they were going to see that their states participate in this early domestication of that. But do you think ordinarily states will come forward and facilitate that, or civil service or civil society, media, stakeholders really need to come forward and push for this?
As I said, we can't expect the government to hold itself to account. We must rise to the challenge of citizenship. And that means we need to find a way to hold those who occupy public offices to account. You see, the question of domesticating this law in the first place does not even arise, because whether we have the FOI Act or not, the Constitution allows those who are in government to be transparent and honest. So if you ask me, technically, the FOI Act and all its provisions and suppositions are, in fact, reinforcements of the constitutional provisions themselves. So we need
to interrupt you there.
Let me just finish. So we need to make sure that even in those states where they are yet to be domesticated, they cannot abandon the principle of transparency in government. So civil society, citizens still have a responsibility to hold leaders to account across the board and across all tiers of government, whether FOI Acts has been domesticated in a state or not. I just wanted to point that out.
You know, the question I have for you right now was actually meant for her, but I'd like you to comment on it. Right now, the National Assembly is the one leading the drive, and especially the House of Representatives, to raise awareness concerning the FOI Act. Would you say that they should have taken another path, for instance, since they are also in another arm of government, running their affairs a little more transparently, in an exemplary manner? Because ultimately, like we pointed out, the FOI Act is about transparency.
Yes.
And, people do not exactly need to ask them for information before the information is actually put out there.
Yes.
So wouldn't there have been another alternative method of also getting the same aim?
As I said, every person, whether they hold public office or not, has a responsibility to make sure that there is transparency in governance. But you see, out of self-interest, those who hold public office are less likely to hold themselves to account, and which is why those of us who constitute the rest of society ought to take more active interest in this. Look at the income disparity between political office holders and the rest of society. It's one of the widest in the world. These people are comfortable. They are beneficiaries of the kind of dysfunctional system that we have. So naturally, they have a lesser inclination towards accountability. But if we have this kind of legislation, I think we have a citizenship responsibility to say, let us hold those who occupy public office to account, because the consequences of what we see all around us, waste and corruption, is in such a manner that undermines development. So we need to rise to our responsibilities as citizens.